It's Tuesday, August 31st, 2010. I'm Kevin McShan, and this is the McShan Sports Beat Report. NFL overtime rules are going through a dramatic transformation. The league and its 32 owners voted 28-4 in late March to change the overtime format. The Buffalo Bills, Minnesota Vikings, Baltimore Ravens, and Cincinnati Bengals all voted against the proposal put forth by the NFL's Competition Committee. Under the new proposal, the team that loses the coin toss and then surrenders a field goal on the first possession of overtime will now be granted the opportunity to have their own possession in the extra session. However, the team that wins the coin toss can still win the game on the first possession of overtime by scoring a touchdown. If the two teams both manage to score a field goal after the first two possessions of overtime, then a sudden death scenario would then be imposed, and the next team to score would then be declared a winner. The rule will be implemented immediately. However, it will only take effect initially in the postseason and not as part of the regular season. The change was made in large part thanks to statistics examined by the committee, which demonstrated that since 1994, the team that wins the coin toss wins the game 59.8% of the time, while the team that comes out on the losing end of the toss wins the game 38.5% of the time. The numbers also indicated the team that won the coin toss won the game on the first possession of overtime 34% of the time. The committee adopted the measure following the 2009 NFC Championship game between the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints, where the Saints drove down the field at home in a hotly contested conference championship game to kick a field goal, sending them to the Super Bowl and putting a magical end on what turned out to be a magical season, which allowed them to put their stamps on the history books. Rich McKay, the president of the Atlanta Falcons, who also serves as the co-chairman of the competition committee, says the rule needed to change to ensure that both teams get a fair shake. Modified sudden death is an opportunity to make a pretty good rule even better. Statistically, it needed to change. It wasn't producing the fairest results, McKay said. Indianapolis Colts president Bill Polian, who also serves on the committee, says that change isn't necessarily a bad thing, even if you're compelled to leave well enough alone. Plenty of people on the committee, myself included, are so-called traditionalists, but once you saw the statistics, it became obvious we had to do something, Polian said. The NFL Players Association has said they believe that any change to overtime needs to be collectively bargained. The collective bargaining agreement between the owners and the players expires next March. The Players Association was not consulted before the change was made. Denver Broncos wide receiver Brandon Stokely says he's not in favor of the switch. I just think they should keep it the way it is. It makes things more interesting. Some people don't like the coin toss, but that's just the way it goes. If you're on defense first and don't have the ball, you just have to stop them, Stokely said. Cleveland Browns head coach Eric Mangini says he's intrigued with the new responsibility which will be bestowed upon a head coach placed under the new scenario, and he says he hopes that he'll be in a position sooner rather than later to make some of those same decisions. I really hope I get a chance to see how it works. My first reaction is I'll be really happy if I'm in a game that it's affected by, Mangini said. When you evaluate this issue on the surface and consider all the pros and cons associated with this rule, you must also consider and be cognizant of the fact that the number one responsibility of the league is to maintain its competitive integrity while also improving their product on the field for their fans, both on and off the field. And from a competitive fairness standpoint, they've accomplished that goal. Even if traditionalists, such as myself, prefer the standard operating procedure of the league when it comes to overtime, sometimes we all have to be open to broadening our horizons because we just never know what morsel of knowledge others can bestow on us. Now, this new rule will take effect, and we'll all sit back and watch how it affects the future of the game. Kevin McShan Sports Beat Report.